Airline staff send black CEO to end of line, then he drops his name and everything stops cold. What does it take for a man's worth to be seen beyond the color of his skin? In the crowded chaos of JFK International Airport, Marcus Langston stood at the precipice of that question. The terminal buzzed with the frenetic energy of travelers' families lugging oversized suitcases, business people tapping impatiently at their phones, and the low hum of announcements crackling overhead. Marcus, a 46-year-old CEO of a Fortune 500 tech company, cut a striking figure in his tailored navy suit, his presence commanding yet calm. His polished briefcase gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, but to the airline staff at the first-class check-in counter, he was just another face in the crowd. "Sir, you'll need to join the economy line," the clerk said, barely glancing up from her screen. Her tone was clipped, dismissive, her eyes skimming past Marcus to the next passenger. The line she pointed to snaked endlessly through the terminal, a mess of frustrated travelers and crying children. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his voice steady but edged with disbelief. "I'm flying first class. My ticket's right here." He slid his phone across the counter, the e-ticket glowing with his name and priority status. The clerk's gaze flickered to the screen, then back to Marcus. Her lips pursed. "There's a mix-up. Please step to the back." Her words carried an unspoken assumption. One Marcus had faced too many times before. A black man in a suit couldn't possibly belong in first class. The air grew heavy, the tension palpable as nearby passengers began to glance over, sensing a brewing conflict. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he held his composure, a skill honed through years of navigating boardrooms where he was often the only black face. Another staff member, a supervisor with a badge reading Karen, approached, her arms crossed. "Sir, you're holding up the line. Move to the back, or we'll have to call security." The threat landed like a punch, and the crowd's murmurs grew louder. A white businessman behind Marcus shifted uncomfortably, clutching his own first-class ticket, unchallenged. The injustice burned in Marcus's chest, but he refused to let it consume him. He'd fought bigger battles than this. "Before I move," Marcus said, his voice low and deliberate, "let me clarify something." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes locking with the supervisor's. "My name is Marcus Langston, CEO of Nextech Innovations. Perhaps you've heard of us? We're the ones keeping your airline's booking system running." The words hung in the air, sharp and unyielding. The clerk froze, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Karen's confident smirk faltered, her eyes widening as recognition dawned. Nextech was a titan in the tech world, and Marcus's name was synonymous with its success. The terminal seemed to hold its breath. Passengers craned their necks, whispering. The clerk fumbled with her computer, her face flushing as she pulled up Marcus's profile. "Mr. Langston, 2M so sorry," she stammered. "There's been a mistake." Karen stepped back, her authority crumbling. "We'll get this sorted immediately," she added, her voice now syrupy with deference. But Marcus wasn't interested in their apologies. He straightened, his gaze piercing. "The mistake," he said, "is assuming I don't belong here." The crowd erupted in a mix of gasps and murmurs. A young black woman nearby, clutching a worn backpack, gave Marcus a subtle nod, her eyes gleaming with quiet pride. An older white man shook his head, muttering about typical airline nonsense. The scene was a microcosm of a world grappling with its biases, where power and prejudice collided in real time. Marcus didn't raise his voice or demand retribution. Instead, he spoke with the weight of a man who'd earned his place. "This isn't just about me," he said, addressing the staff but loud enough for the crowd to hear. "It's about every person you've dismissed, overlooked, or pushed to the back because of how they look. You don't get to decide who belongs." His words cut through the terminal's noise, leaving a stunned silence in their wake. The staff scrambled to process his check-in, offering upgrades and apologies, but Marcus waved them off. He didn't need their gestures. He boarded his flight, head high, knowing this moment would ripple. The young woman with the backpack approached the counter next, her posture straighter, her voice firmer. The businessman behind Marcus hesitated, then quietly apologized to the clerk for not speaking up sooner. As Marcus settled into his first-class seat, he stared out the window at the tarmac, reflecting on the deeper truth. This wasn't just about an airport line, it was about a world that too often judged worth by appearance rather than character. He thought of his daughter, a college freshman, and the battles she'd face. He'd fought for her, for himself, for every person who'd been told they didn't belong. The plane's engines roared to life, and Marcus closed his eyes, not in defeat, but in resolve. Change was slow, but moments like these where truth confronted ignorance were sparks in the dark. He'd keep fighting, not with anger, but with the unyielding dignity that had carried him this far. And somewhere in that crowded terminal, a handwritten sign on a clipboard read, "Who holds power here?" A question that lingered long after Marcus's plane disappeared into the sky. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.